Good evening. Sunday. It's December 10th, Sunday afternoon, evening, 5 p.m. Doing a little Q&A. As some of you may or may not know, I was scheduled to bowl the PBA member, non-member regional this past weekend in Yulee, Florida, bowling with the host manager, Josh Johnson, but been fighting a bit of a colder flu or something the last week or so. I did not bowl league on Wednesday, and I decided it was probably not the best to go and bowl the tournament and infect a bunch of people, so I decided to stay home. So that's the reason my voice doesn't sound quite as clear as it could. I'm feeling better. I never did feel horrible, but a lot of coughing and sneezing and blowing my nose, and might have to do it while I'm doing this. So I guess everybody's busy. Nobody's on asked me any questions yet, at least not that I can see. So, just starting to rain here. We got a little storm coming through. There was actually some severe um, thunderstorms or whatever. On the PBA, can you put surface on a ball after tournament has started and ball has not been put in play? No, you cannot do that. Once the tournament starts, you cannot change the surface of a bowling ball even if you haven't used it yet. Um, and I think that's probably similar in USBC competition. So if you're bowling league or something like that, and you decide the bowling balls that you have need more surface, and you're already started your first game, you can't change a bowling ball. I don't believe. I know that's the case in the PBA. So a lot of times guys want to do that, including myself, but that's yeah, you're not allowed to do that. Years and years ago, they used to be able to do that. You used to be able to sand your balls and stuff. There was a guy who used to sand his ball every shot. Won many titles. I should say, well, yeah, he won more than 10. So in PBA Hall of Fame. Where is everybody? Well, I would have thought we'd had more people watching. Oh well. Well, got a few people watching. Nobody wants to ask any questions. So the last couple weekends I bowled some tournaments and didn't do very well. We had a team tournament, 2 weeks ago, right after Thanksgiving, and I thought we had a really good team, and we didn't. Well, five of us really didn't bowl that great. Um, so out of the 2018, we finished 14th, which I thought was about as bad as we could finish. I should come next year for holiday doubles. Yeah, I really don't like bowling on house shots. um, it's nice at first base, $10,000. A lot of good bowlers you got to beat. If I lived there, I'd probably bowl there, but it's more than a couple day drive. I'm actually thinking about bowling a tournament in Texas the second weekend in January. They have a trio tournament for old guys. The age has to add up to 180 for the three guys. And we're actually, I think the team that the one guy's asking me to bowl is, I think we're going to add up to like 190. So we got a guy who's in his middle, late 70s who's very good. Bowled with him last year, but I told him, I said, well, if I could get some clinics or something. So if you're between Florida and Dallas, and you think your bowling center might be interested, tell them that I'm looking to maybe go out there. But if I don't do any clinics, it doesn't really make any sense, because as much as I'd like to bowl in tournaments, it doesn't make sense for me to spend lots and lots of money to go to a tournament and not make money. Like I said, the last 2 weeks I bowled in kind of local tournaments, a team tournament, a doubles tournament. Didn't do very well. So doesn't do me any good to spend money when I'm trying to make money. Ever bowled any of the small ball regional games? Duck pins, candle pins. I've done them. They're a little bit on the challenging side. The scores are way lower. The pins are smaller, and the balls are smaller, so you can definitely get some interesting leaves. Yep, sorry, Jacob. Yeah, I would have liked to bowl, but I just didn't want to get everybody infected there, so I decided not to bowl. I feel better, but still not 100% yet. Do I prefer wood lanes or synthetic lanes? I really don't care, and I would guess I probably have more 300s on synthetic lanes since I've bowled probably more games on synthetic lanes, but that's a total guess. I really don't keep track of that stuff. You will still bowl a full PBA50 schedule next season. Right now I'm planning to bowl all the tournaments. I do have an issue. The World Horseshoe Tournament this last year had the championship class playing the 1 week that this PBA Senior Tour took off. I thought it was kind of a nice thing that they all did for me, especially considering it was kind of next door because we were bowling in Jackson, Michigan. We had a week off, and the Horseshoe Tournament was in Lansing, Michigan, so I played horseshoes that next week. This next year, unfortunately, it's going to be overlapping the World Series of Bowling, the very last day of the World Series of Bowling, and then I think another event or two, and the Horseshoe Tournament is going to be in Southeast Washington. So that's unless I'm playing horseshoes really, really well, I will probably go to the bowling tournament. Doesn't make any sense for me to go to the horseshoe tournament if I'm not going to be very competitive. Last week or so, I've kind of got my game back for a couple months after the World Tournament when I played pretty well. Really struggled, but obviously still would like to do better than even that. So there was a store you bought a lot of Crush R when they were discontinued. Nope, I did not. I guess I should have. Of course, now you can't. And after this next year, you can't use them on tour. I'm not 100% sure about the rest of the tour, the PBA 50 tour. Thanks, Bob. Like I said, I don't feel horrible. I mean, body-wise, didn't really have much of a temperature. Just, it was in my nose, it was in my chest, so I was coughing, sneezing, and runny nose and stuff like that. So nothing. For me, I didn't feel too bad, and I don't feel too bad. I think I'm on the mend, but sometimes they just, they stick around for a long time. Live in Reno. You're 50, getting older. Yeah, we are. You have a similar approach. Oh boy, what happened? Let's see. Similar approach. You can give me a pointer on lift. I see you lift at the end of your shot. Can you break down into words? Basically, when I bowl and also when I play horseshoes, I like to be aggressive at the release. I figure it's a lot easier to repeat the shot if you're being aggressive as opposed to being timid. Ever thought about putting out an instructional video about two-handed bowling? I have not. I understand a little bit about it, but I'm not an expert on it. I see what the younger guys do, and there's things that I think are good, but it's I would not say that I'm an expert at it. I know how to do it. I don't do it like the kids. I'm 64, so my body doesn't work like a young kid does. I'm not as flexible. When I bowl, you need to really run to the line and generate the good ball speed because you have a high rev rate. That's one of the things I kind of am challenged on is getting the ball speed. I get decent ball speed, but it's not great. Most of the kids are throwing, I'm talking high school kids, guys that aren't even thinking about, they're not even on a tour, and they throw it 3 miles an hour harder than I do. So, let's see, kind of like Tin Cup breaking it down for Rene Russo. Okay. Well, thanks, Tiffany. Let's see. Why is this thing? We miss you on Wednesday night. Hope to see you this week. Well, thanks, Bob. Yeah, I decided not to bowl Wednesday because, like I said, got a cold or a flu or something like that. Didn't want to infect everybody. So, yeah, I was tested. I tested for COVID a couple weeks ago. My wife, she went in. They tested her. They actually said she had the flu. So I'm guessing that's probably what I have. But fortunately, I had flu shots and COVID shots. So um, I think I'm handling it okay. But I just don't want to infect everybody. Mr. Brandon, how you doing? I'm doing okay. My horseshoes is not as good as yours, but doing okay. One of these years we're going to have to meet and play a game, and hopefully I can give you a decent competition. Interesting watching the other day when you were bowling and the guy was putting water or something on his shoe and it got a little heated. Yeah, that was a little interesting. I don't know why some people decide that rules don't belong to them. So, but it is what it is. So those in the chat, if you're looking, there's this gentleman, Brandon Tennant. I know I'm going to mess your name up. Tenayeth. I'm not sure how to say that. But he's one of Arizona's, I think he's the Arizona state champion. He's a Native American, and he goes to a lot of what we call backyard horseshoe tournaments, and they actually play for a little bit. They actually play for more money than they do in the organized horseshoes, which is kind of seems backwards, but they also play formats that I don't really like. They play elimination formats. Sometimes it's bring your own partner. A lot of times it's draw your own partner. But he's so good that even when he gets picked with somebody else, he is almost always winning the tournaments and stuff because he's very, very good. Kind of sad that he doesn't go to the World Horseshoe Tournament because he is very good. I don't think he's quite as good as the world champion, but he's very good. He could probably give him a good game. Might even be able to beat him a couple times. But Brandon, I look forward to meeting you someday and hopefully pitching horseshoe and hopefully giving you some good competition. I wouldn't want to pitch you on sand though. I think you're going to beat me. You're probably going to beat me wherever we play, but I don't like playing on sand. You say you struggled with ball speed bowling two-handed. What did you do to increase your ball speed? Well, like I said, I don't have very good ball speed, but basically it's the same thing I do when I teach, when I do clinics. Basically, if you get the ball started earlier, your feet have to go faster. And I hear people talk about, oh, their feet are too fast, their feet are too fast. Watch the guys on tour, especially the two-handers. They have really fast feet. They're trying to generate ball speed with their body. So that's one thing. The other thing that they do is my body angle is probably about 45 degrees. When I bowl two-handed, it's about the same probably. These guys are like 80 degrees, 90 degrees. They've been way down, and they're really generating a lot of torque with their back because it's hard to get a big backswing. A lot of the younger players on tour generate a lot of ball speed by having a really high backswing. Well, you can't have it's hard to have a really high backswing bowling two-handed. So you got to figure out a different way to generate that good ball speed with the high rev rate. So, let's see. Favorite bowling ball you ever had the pleasure of using? Well, I guess I have to go with the Crush R. That was my best year, 1993. I won 7 tournaments. I didn't win every tournament using the Crush R, but I really, really liked that bowling ball. I was kind of surprised they didn't keep making it, but that's kind of the way the bowling industry is. It kind of fell apart quite a bit, but that was definitely one of my better balls. The other one was probably Danger Zone. I think 96, I think I won 5 titles that year. So, of course, that might have something to do with it. Whether the ball actually had a super, super influence on that or not, I don't know. But it definitely doesn't hurt to have a good ball in your hand. Got to see you a while ago at was AMF Now, something else on 56th and Temple Terrace. Temple Terrace, that's down in the Tampa area. So yeah, that's we had I bowled there. My last, well, it wasn't my last because I did bowl the Tournament of Champions, but they had the PBA World Series a couple of years ago, and I actually announced my retirement from the national tour at that tournament. Almost made the TV show. Tom Doherty managed to beat me in the match before the TV show. I bowled a very good match against him. Unfortunately, he beat me the last 3 out of 5 games, and I think I actually had more pins knocked down than him in that match, and then he goes on to win the tournament. But that's the way it goes. So you are Pele of Go. You really go. Well, thank you, Eduardo. Since you're doing your clinic, my average went up about 15 and bowled my first 300. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Jonathan. I think I think people that go to my clinics, they are very interested in improving their game. I get some people who are very, very good, and it's like, wow, I have trying to find something for me to give them some knowledge. But most people I find have poor timing, and that's the one thing I work on the most is timing. And I think if you can get your timing down, the rest is going to come a little bit more natural, if that makes any sense. You still have to work on it. Doesn't just because you have good timing doesn't mean you can just bowl 3 games a week and you're going to average 240. That ain't going to happen. Well, if you're already up that level, you might on a house shot, but it's to get good, you have to practice. You got to work at it. It doesn't just happen. So, but I think having better timing is going to get you that spot a lot better. But there's always exceptions. The guy who won the very first PBA tournament back in 1958, Lou Campy, bowled off the wrong foot. So you're having a PBA 50 East region here in Fort Meade this coming weekend. Yeah, I won't be up there. I'm going to be actually going to Houston, Texas this next weekend for a over-under 50 doubles tournament. They also have one in Virginia. The distance for me is about the same, but last year my partner and I did win that tournament. Unfortunately, my partner, Michael Holloman, he is not a member this year and doesn't want to rejoin for some reason because they have silly tournaments that won't let you bowl if you're a PBA member, which I totally disagree with. If you're trying to make a living, it doesn't make any sense that you should be barred from bowling a tournament that has money in it. That makes absolutely no sense to me. But anyway, so he's not able to bowl the tournament because he doesn't want to join PBA. So I'm bowling with a young kid named Dio Bernard. If you've seen the Bowler's Journal a couple months in the last month or two, they did a nice article on him. He's got 6 regional titles, and he's 19 years old. I told him, well, hopefully we get a number 7 in case unless he's already won number 7 because he keeps winning regionals. I didn't win my first regional until I was 23, so he's got a good head start on me. Did Fancy quit bowling, or is she hurt? We've got our new company, Compass Sportswear, so if you need a jersey, go to Compass Sportswear and look us up, and we'll hopefully design you a nice jersey you're interested in. So she's doing a lot of that, and her interest in bowling, she loves the game, but for her personally to actually bowl, she's just not as interested in doing that. Last year she bowled, she was on my team, and she only bowled 15 games. Of course, she had a frozen shoulder for a few months, so that really got in the way. And after that, when she did bowl, she bowled well for the 2 times, but she just doesn't have the interest to go out and bowl and stuff. So I'm like, okay. And I'm doing a tournament next week on a 30-foot. Any advice? Unfortunately, 39 feet doesn't tell me anything, and I don't know how you bowl. But basically, if you're bowling on a sport pattern, you need to make good shots. So if you have a really high rev rate, might not be a bad thing to start out with a like a urethane type ball, something that's not going to overreact as hard, something you can control a little bit. And if you have a lower rev rate like me, you can probably get away with a more aggressive ball, and it really depends on how the pattern is. There are some 39-foot patterns that are basically house shots, so it doesn't really matter what you use. And if you got a pattern that's really flat, you just have to make really good shots. So, have you ever played often against Elmer Hole? I played against Elmer a few times. It's funny because I've been going over I found an old hard drive that had some old horseshoe stuff and some old bowling stuff on there. and so I've actually been putting some of it on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. Um, and I have a match on there that I'm actually played against Elmer Hole. It was in 1982 down here in down here in Florida, at Clearwater, Florida. They had the Horseshoe U.S. Open, and I actually played him for the title. He didn't pitch a great game against me. I didn't pitch great myself, but I did manage to beat him. Um, I honestly couldn't tell you my record against him, but he was at the end of his career when I was playing against him. But his last world title was in 1977. He won 6 world titles. He was basically the best player from Canada ever, and for quite a while was actually considered probably one of the best horseshoe pitchers ever. He didn't have as many titles as Ted Allen, but he had 6 titles, and his average he had the high average record, 88.2%. Until Alan Francis, who is now the current world champion for the last how many stupid years, Alan actually is the only one who's had a higher average than him. I came really close one year, but anyway, so in 1977 he won his last title. It was my first year in the men's division. I was only 17, and I was having a horrible tournament. For me, I was not. I had some good games, and then I played him the last game of the second to last night, and all of a sudden I started pitching better. I beat him, and then the last day I averaged like I thought I should average. I averaged like 86% the last day. Unfortunately, I had so many bad games leading up to that point, and I think I finished 8th that year. It was really a disappointing thing for me. Let's see, NFL has 2 Monday night games. Should our 6-lane I really don't care about watching football, so it doesn't matter to me. That's up to you guys. Name some bowlers that you know you had to bring your A game. Pretty much everybody. Anybody bowls on tour, um, they they are all good players, and you got to bowl well against them. It's There are some patterns that I'm a little bit have an advantage on, but and a lot of patterns they have advantages on. You kind of know that, but for the most part, when you're bowling all those guys, you gotta make shots, and hopefully the pins will cooperate with you. What's your favorite line to play if the conditions allow? I like playing outside. Um, Honestly, we don't really see a true outside line very often. Some of the shorter patterns let you play outside, but a lot of them, it's not the way it used to be, if that makes any sense. It's like there's too much hook on the outside, but other times it's like it's supposed to hook out there, but it doesn't hook out there. So it's very confusing at times. Um, but if I have the opportunity, playing an outside line is definitely something I'm pretty decent at. I Sometimes I mess up. We just had a tournament out in Las Vegas, and one of the patterns was a shorter pattern, and then I was bowling decent on it and made the step ladder, and I did get beat in that, but I think I finished fourth or third or something like that. And then they had another event where you bowled on the short pattern and a long pattern, and I didn't really like my reaction to a long pattern. In fact, I started bowling two-handed. You can actually go back and look at some of the videos. I was actually down in my first match. It was a win 3 out of 5, and I was down 0-2. And I got a good reaction on the short pattern. The long reaction, I'm just not throwing the ball very well. And I'm like, well, this doesn't really matter. I'm going to just try bowling two-handed. So I did, and it worked. I got a couple lucky breaks in there, but it was a very interesting thing. And then at the semifinal match, I threw horrible shots on the short pattern. If I'd have thrown good shots on the short pattern, I would have won that game, and then I could have maybe won the title. But I did not do that, And so, even if you're bowling on your quote favorite pattern, you still got to make shots. You still got to do the right things, and I didn't do that. Who were some bowlers you were most excited to play because Well, again, it's all the named players, any of those named players. You're talking Weber, Voss, Duke, Bone, Mike Albee, Yamato, anybody, all those guys. And there was a bunch of other guys, Dave Ferraro, Dave Husted, and I think Dave Husted beat me every time we bowled on TV. So it's, it really, there's so many good players out there, and the guys, and I had so many guys there. They bowled one time on, I had a guy bowl one time on TV. And he shot 299 against me in the title match. It's like, and I'd won the week before, and I won the week after. Finished second in that one, and I shot 267 or something like that. So you can never count anybody out. Guys you never heard of before, and all of a sudden they get lined up, and things are going good for them. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, I have a YouTube channel also. I've been posting videos on there. So like I said, I found a bunch of my old videos and stuff. I'm kind of trying to go through them, and going to post some of it. I know most of you bowlers aren't really interested in my horseshoes. Some of the horseshoe pitchers are interested in it, but there's not as many of those horseshoe pitchers. So, but obviously the horseshoes is kind of a passion of mine. It was something I did first. If it wasn't for the horseshoes, I wouldn't be the bowler that I am. I can almost guarantee that. I didn't grow up in a bowling center. I kind of got really into bowling when I was about 19, and at that time I was already, world horseshoe champion. I was junior world champion 3 times. I was min world champion when I was 18. I won it again when I was 20 and 21, and I didn't go on tour until I was 23. I did manage to win it a few times after that, and then my average started going down, and in fact, it got so bad that I thought, you know what, if I practice, I think I might be that good left-handed. So I actually started doing that because I broke my finger and broke my wrist when I was younger, so I learned how to play left-handed. And I'm actually better left-handed now playing horseshoes than I am right-handed, which is kind of sad, but it's also just something up here sometimes. Let's see. Sounds like I have a bad cold. Yeah, I got either a bad cold or a flu. So I didn't bowl league this week. I didn't bowl a tournament this weekend. I thought it would be better for me not to get other people sick. So, how often do I practice? I really don't practice a whole lot. This week I probably will try to practice a couple of times because I didn't bowl at all this week. I actually drilled a couple balls and had planned to use them, but this weekend. But they're still in the pro shop, so I got to pick those up, and probably tomorrow I'll go practice. Hopefully I feel a little bit better and won't contaminate everybody. I probably practice more horseshoes than I do bowling, but I don't practice horseshoes near as much as I used to when I was a kid. I used to practice 1 or 2 hours every single day when I was young, and now it's like if I practice 2 or 3 times a week, that's a good thing. Love to watch horseshoes. You haven't been doing too good. Well, you're right. I don't do as well as I used to. I'm still pretty good. I'm the best 40-foot pitcher here in Florida. Brandon whatever, I don't even know how to say his name. He's gonna have to send me a video how to say his last name. But he's from the Arizona, and he's the Arizona state champion, and he's definitely better than I am. I'm probably ranked about 15th or 20th in the world, which is decent. But for me, it sucks because at one time I used to be number 1, and so I used to average 85, even 90% tournaments. So 65% is decent, but it's way, way off of 85%. Do you think anyone bowling today has a chance to break your tour titles? I don't know. I mean, it depends. There's some very talented guys out there. You got Jason Belmonte. The biggest thing with Jason is, he lives in Australia. So for him to come out here and bowl in the States is very challenging. He's got, a wife and 4 kids. That just really throws a monkey wrench into things like that. Traveling that much and being away from your family. Then you got E.J. Tackett and Anthony Simonson. Those 2 guys, if they keep grinding away, the thing is it takes a lot of years to get to that spot. And for a long time, I never really thought about getting to Earl Anthony's record, and I just, because I thought after I was 40, I probably wouldn't be bowling that much anymore. And from my 40s to 50s, I actually was a bowler of the decade. I still won plenty of titles when I was in my 40s. So I was not really expecting that. And I think Earl Anthony, had he continued to bowl, would have probably had another 5 or 10 titles, because he retired when he was 45, and he was Player of the Year when he retired. And he didn't even bowl a full year. So um, I think it's definitely possible. The difference is we also had a lot more tournaments back then than they do now. But these guys seem to win they seem to win a higher percentage of tournaments, so, which is kind of interesting. Let's see, what else we got? Watch the videos from Japan with you and Parker Bone. Watch a little of the horseshoe match when you were very young. Yep. Yeah, those some of the videos I just posted recently. Who drills my equipment? Gary Faulkner does. My doubles partner, bowls on my team. I think he's also got an app called the Paddock, which helps you map out bowling balls if you want for drilling. So, what's the best memory you had playing against Pete Weber? Well, fortunately, I had a couple good ones. Fortunately for me, I got a great record against him on TV. I only bowled him 10 times on TV, but I think we bowled each other for 6 titles, and I somehow managed to win all 6 of them, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Something happened. He threw a bad shot, got a bad break. I got a good break or whatever. I don't know. It's amazing that kind of happened. But probably 2 things stand out, bowling Pete, and one was winning the last telecast on ABC TV when we're both kind of getting real close to that $2 million mark. And I managed to win that. And then they had a regional tournament that weekend, and I actually beat him for the regional title to go over the $2 million mark for the PBA earnings. That was kind of one thing. The other thing was I beat him for my 42nd title in Japan in 1996. And actually, if you looked at some of my merchandise stuff, I have my replica jerseys. The silhouette that I have on my replica jerseys these days is a silhouette from that TV show. So let's see. Can't believe Allen scored 19 straight points to beat Simmons 40-37. Actually, it was a 2009 championship. Yes, people. I mean, I have it posted on there. The best horseshoe game ever recorded. And I say ever recorded because there have been some other games that are just as good, but really not too many, because that game is like really, really good. And Brian had a huge lead on Allen, and I actually talked to Brian about it a couple of years ago, and he actually mentioned there was some lady or something that was kind of distracting him a little bit at the end of the match, which is really kind of sad that something like that would happen. And he unfortunately had not the best finish, but Allen had a great finish and came back and beat him. It's really remarkable. If you haven't watched that match, I taped the whole game. It probably lasted an hour and 20 minutes, and I edited it. So all you do is see the shoes, and then I put a little score on there and stuff, and it's got a little noise in the background. But these guys pitched 140 shoes, and Allen had 126 ringers, and Brian had 125 ringers. And you're watching a game, and it's lopsided, and then all of a sudden, Allen comes back and wins the game. It's just crazy. Without the ability to visibly see the oil pattern or know beforehand what the pattern is, how can you tell if an oil pattern is flat when you start bowling? Actually, pretty simple. If you throw the ball to the right and it goes to the right, and if you throw the ball to the left and it goes to the left, that's pretty much a flat pattern, unless you're playing the absolute wrong part of the lane, which is going to happen if you're playing the wrong part of the lane. It's like if I bowl on a lead condition, if I bowl on a house shot, if I play 5th arrow, if I miss to the right, my ball's going to go to the right. If I miss to the left, the ball's going to go to the left. So actually, sometimes when I practice, I'll actually practice that part of the lane because I want to learn to throw better shots. I don't want to be able to miss right and have the ball hook back to the pocket, or miss left and have the ball hold to the pocket, because to me that's just teaching you it's okay to throw a bad shot. So, the problem is if you're not playing the lanes right, you might have that little bit. And the sport pattern might not be flat, but it's like the difference is not that it's more subtle. You might have a tiny bit of room to the right, a little tiny bit of room to the left. Where on a house shot, you're going to have, you're going to see it almost instantaneous. You're going to say, oh, there's that big hook spot. Mar, are you bringing your mom to the Worlds this year? Well, I'm not sure I'm going. And my mom lives in California. Unfortunately, she's getting older and doesn't really much want to travel. But one of my brothers, Jonathan, has a place up there, or up in that area. So I don't know. She might be there. I don't know, but it. I'm not even sure I'm going to be there. Are you still using the black diamond? Yes. Unfortunately, way too often. That's my spare ball. Is your daughter a bowling expert? No. You're still number one in horseshoes. My dad loved horseshoes, and I loved watching him play at our church functions. I met you one time at Pete Bryan's place in Laurel, Delaware, some years ago, and you had a cold then, but you were so nice to let me take a picture with you. Well, hopefully I didn't get you sick. How's my arm feeling with all the bowling and pitching you're doing? Well, I really don't do that much. It's really the amount that I bowl and pitch is really not that much. I mean, back in the old days, we used to bowl 20 games in a day, and like 2-3 days in a row. So it really, and nowadays, when I bowl a regional tournament, I might bowl 20 games in 2 days. So it's not, and obviously being older is not making it easier, but 20 games in 2 days for a professional bowler is really not that much. But I remember some of the old days when, you're bowling 16 games of competition in a day, which, when you include practice and stuff, you're probably getting 20 games in. And by the end of the night, my shoulders would be nice and sore, but the next day, no problem. So I very seldom would have an issue with that. Pitching horseshoes, though, this year at the World Horseshoe Tournament was the first year I actually had an issue with my arm. And part of it was I'm pitching left-handed, and I wasn't following through. I was kind of my follow through was very jerky. So I think because of that, my bicep actually started getting to hurt a little bit the last day. And I'm like, well, if you just follow through and wouldn't trick your arm like that, because I would go like that. And if I hadn't been doing that, I think I would have my arm wouldn't have been hurting so much. And it wasn't hurt. It didn't hurt that much that I couldn't pitch, but I definitely noticed it. So. Do I, excuse me, do I still golf? If so, how's the golf game? Not really. I mean, I do play golf, but I've played once since June, so, and that was back in July. So I haven't swung a club since then. Just doesn't, I back in the old, I used to live on a golf course, played all the time. I love to play. I'm very competitive. Got pretty decent at it. Got down to one handicap. But I just don't have the desire to go out and play. I mean, it's such a slow game. Oh my God! People talk about bowling. In bowling, we might bowl an 8-game set in 4 hours. So that's 96 shots plus spare shots. So you're talking 140 shots or whatever it is, 130 shots, hopefully. Or 120 if you're really good. But in golf, you take an 80 or 90 shots, or whatever it is, 70 shots sometimes. And again, it's 4 hours, and it's like, to me, it's like you're waiting for everybody else to play. So it was a very slow game. When I lived on a golf course, on a private course, I could just go out and play. Me and my ex-wife would go play. We play in less than 3 hours. To me, that was a lot more fun. I didn't mind playing golf with the other guys. We'd play 4.5 hours. But when you start getting over 4.5 hours, man, it's just like, it is just slow. Don't like it. Are your finger holds mostly the same for all your bowling balls? Yes, I have the same finger grips. I have arthritis in my fingers. I don't know if you can see that very well. So all my fingers have arthritis, and my fingers are kind of on a large size. So I have for my middle finger, I have the 9.5, and my ring finger I have an 8. That's my size for the vice grips. You like the clear ones, the clear ovals. But yeah, it doesn't matter whether I'm bowling two-handed or one-handed. You got the exact same grips. In fact, it's kind of funny. I drilled the hammer new, the non-urethane ball. But it's still urethane because all reactive balls are urethane. So it's kind of crazy. Anyway, so when I first drilled it, I drilled it to bowl and lead, and so I didn't put a thumb hole in it. And then I thought, well, okay, I wanted to drill a ball, but I didn't have one with me. I only had one with me, and they didn't have them yet in the pro shop. So I was going to a bowling tournament. I said, just put a thumb hole in it. That's all he did. Left the fingers the way they were, put a thumb hole in it, because my finger grips I do the exact same finger pitches and everything. So let's see what else we got here. I've been bowling for many years on and off. I had an 800, 290, 286. Cannot seem to close the deal on 300. Wow, how much that mental? There's a little bit mental, but it's the problem is in bowling you can throw a great shot and not get a strike. You can throw a bad shot and get a strike. For me, keep throwing good shots. You got a better chance of striking. It's not going to guarantee getting a strike, but you got a better chance. So kind of keep plugging away. But it's kind of amazing you don't have a 300 because the 300's easier to get than an 800. Used to love golf. It's very, very expensive and it's slow. It's very slow. A lot of time. Yeah. So I don't have the time to cough. Takes too much of my time. Yeah, I'm. I don't mind playing golf. I just, I just don't do it as much. If I lived on a golf course, I'd probably do that. But I don't live on a golf course anymore. A little expensive, and I can think of better ways to spend my money. But my wife's always encouraged me to go out and play, and I'm like, well, it's really not that big a deal to me anymore. So, but I do enjoy playing. But I'm very competitive. I like to do lots of different things. Mainly, I play horseshoes and I bowl. But we got this community I live in. They actually have pickleball. I've only played it once or twice. I wouldn't mind doing it. I like playing. I like playing table tennis or ping pong. If you're a real enthusiast, it's table tennis. One of my good friends, Tommy Kress, who lives down here, I know he was actually nationally ranked as a junior. But I remember playing him when I first got on tour, and he was very, 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 very good. And I was decent. A bunch of guys are pretty decent and stuff, and so it's a fun game to play. But the other part of that is I'm 64. I don't exercise like I used to, and that's the kind of thing I need to do to get my heart rate up a little bit more than just going out and doing this slow aerobic exercise of playing horseshoes or bowling. Do you know anyone with a 900 series? I think I've met a couple guys, but I don't really know too many guys. There's a ridiculous number of guys who have them now. I've never had 36 strikes in a row. I don't know how guys strike that much. My carry's not that good. So in case you guys didn't know, I've had a cold or a flu or something for the last week. Didn't really feel horrible. Unfortunately, I had a lot of congestion, a lot of coughing, blow my nose and sneezing and stuff. So I didn't want to infect other guys, so I did not go bowl league on Wednesday, and I didn't bowl the member-non-member doubles tournament this weekend. So I think I'm finally getting over that a little bit, but I never felt horrible. I don't think I might have had a slight temperature. Body ache wasn't too bad. I was kind of for a couple days, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't get out of bed or anything like that. But I was trying to, get a little extra rest and putting lots of covers on. So I was trying to sweat myself, but I really couldn't get myself to do that. I guess I should have brought a heated blanket or something into the house, but I don't think we have one here. My wife wouldn't like that. Ever bowled the Bradley Open? I had bowled the Bradley. I think I made the cut there, but it was a very challenging condition. Lots and lots and lots and lots of oil, which I'm not real crazy about, but when the lanes break down. So. Why no streaming last Wednesday? I just mentioned I have a cold, flu. I didn't go bowling last Wednesday because I didn't want to infect everybody. So hopefully this week I get a I'm going to be good enough that I don't infect people. I can bowl league on Wednesday, and then I've got a clinic. I have a clinic scheduled in Tallahassee on Thursday afternoon, and then Friday they got the practice session in Pro-Am. I'm going to be in Houston, Texas. That's the plan. And they got the over under 50 doubles tournament. I'm bowling with Dio Bernard. So hopefully we can do as well as my partner and I did last year. We ended up winning. And Dio's a great bowler. He's trying to get, trying to figure out how to bowl on the national tour, which is an interesting thing. It's not so easy. Bowling, but I think he's got 6 regional titles already at 19, which is very impressive. It's all right, Kevin. It's just kind of funny that I just basically talked about it and you asked that question. But yeah, yeah. As you can kind of maybe tell, my voice has got a little bit of a whatever. I've got a little congestion and my nose is running and stuff. And I had a couple coughs. Haven't had to blow my nose while I'm doing this Q&A. Just got the NU drilled up. Any tips? Well, I mean, it's designed to react kind of like a urethane ball, a non-reactive ball, I guess is really what it should be called. But I think it's still considered a reactive ball. I don't know the exact formulations on it, but I would bowl. The strategy would be how you would use a urethane ball. So if you like the urethane ball, I think you're going to like it. I like mine. It's not going to give you the big snappy hook on the back end. It's still going to hook a fair amount. And depending on how you throw the ball, you might get it to lay off a little bit more than you want. I've been trying to use it in league two-handed, but on the house shot, and I don't throw the ball excessively hard, so it still hooks a fair amount. I'm thinking what I need to do personally is get one and shine it up a little bit so that it, take that surface down a little bit so it's not quite so grabby, and then maybe I can play a little bit further right because I don't have the good ball speed like I talked about earlier compared to the other two-handers. So I bowl two-handed league because I'm trying to have some fun and also trying to get a little bit of practice bowling two-handed because I don't practice a whole lot, and I figure those 3 games a week's better than none. So I probably get about 6 or 8 games a week bowling two-handed, and that includes when I go to the regional tournaments. I have a practice session. I'll spend a couple games at the end of practice bowling two-handed, and every once in a while I even use a two-handed in competition. But it's not, to get really good, I probably ought to bowl 20 or 30 games a week, and I don't do that. Yeah, Gary's been throwing one on Wednesday nights, and he likes it. And I think the guy who subbed for me last week, Michael Zawacki, I think he used it. I think he just bowled a 300 with it, and I think he shot 700 the other night. I don't know if I'm assuming he used it in our league, but I don't know. Yeah, Gary's been using it, and he likes it. Like I said, it gives a lot more control, and with the house condition, some of us don't really like all the free hook that they give us. Even though I don't hook the ball a lot, I don't really want all that free hook. Do the pros get anything for bowling pro-ams? A little bit. It's the regional tournaments, they pay you a few dollars, not very much. And on the national tour, it used to be they'd have a pool of like $300, and the top 6 guys would, for their pro-am scores, would get the $50 each. So yeah, they're not bowling for a whole lot. It's more of a fun thing. They get a little enticement to bowl there, but it's more of a fun thing to bowl with the AMs, and hopefully most of the amateurs seem to enjoy it. There used to be lots and lots of people who bowled the pro-ams. Nowadays, it's not as much, which is kind of disappointing. But everybody I ask about it, they always say, "Oh, I had a great time. Why they can't get their friends to come out? But I think unfortunately a lot of people are confused. They think the pro-ams are only for good bowlers. It's an amateur tournament. It's a handicap tournament. You bowl for a little bit of money, not a whole lot, but it's more of a fun thing. And everybody, I get people all the time. Oh, don't beat up, don't bowl too good against me. I'm like, I'm your partner. It's a doubles thing. So, and I guess, sometimes they might be intimidated by the pros that they're bowling with or whatever, but it's meant to be a fun thing. Oh, I just saw a thing where Eric, curious about, in your career you have made more TV finals appearances and championship than any other player in PBA history. You've always had amazing success against Pete Weber, and was wondering if facing him in majors versus regular events changed your approach when bowling. No, I mean it's the approach you take against anybody. You just got to throw great shots. But and getting to 129 titles, I mean, it's something I never thought would happen. And now I'm trying to get to number 130. Hopefully, I will this weekend. But it's not when I first started bowling, I had no aspirations of having this many titles or being Player of the Year. I thought it'd be really cool to make a living and not have to have a quote real job. Rick, I'm in my 60s. In the past few years, I've had to go with weaker layouts and a little less dull surfaces because I just don't have the ball speed. Have you changed anything with your equipment as you've gotten older? Well, I still have decent ball speed, and I typically, and you're probably bowling on a house shot where you're going to have a lot more friction. I really don't like bowling on a house shot, and even when I bowl on a shorter pattern, they still put lots of oil on the lanes. And even though there's plenty of friction on the outside and plenty of friction in the middle of the lane, basically though, it's because I still have decent ball speed. I don't have a problem with the ball hooking too much. That is not something that I've ever had to say in the last 10 or 15 years that the ball was hooking too much. That's just really, 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 really rare. Back in the old days, they oil the lanes once a day. By the end of the night, lanes would be hooking a lot. There's a difference between that kind of hook and, the hook that we see on some of the conditions. Try and watch you on Wednesday. How much higher would you average one-handed? A couple of years ago, what was it? Well, last year I bowled two-handed. The year before, I did bowl one-handed because I had pulled my groin muscle in the spring before, and I didn't want to re-injure it. So, because it took about a year for it to heal. And when I was in my 30s, about 30, I pulled my groin muscle. It took about a year for that to completely heal. So I didn't want to put that extra strain. The two-handed gives a little extra strain, and I thought, you know what, I really don't want to do that. So I didn't bowl two-handed in the league that year, but I averaged 239. This year, though, I'm only averaging like 215 or 216 or something like that. Last year I averaged 222, but the 2 years before that I averaged 232 bowling two-handed in the league. I don't really think I've gotten worse two-handed, but the lane conditions in the league just are hooking a fair amount, and I can't quite figure out exactly what I need to do. And Eric's asking about bowling two-handed. Basically, when I don't like my reaction one-handed, or I bowled this doubles tournament last weekend, and we were pretty much out of it with a few games to go, and I knew that, and my partner knew it, and I said, I'm going to bowl two-handed. And the first game wasn't very good, and then the second game I threw a bunch of good shots, and the last game I threw a bunch of good shots. So on some of the longer oil patterns, the two-handed release is not too bad, but I still don't have the control and the accuracy that I need to have to be more competitive at it. That's really the biggest thing. Do I play with ball surfaces much? A little bit. I don't really do a whole lot, but every once in a while I will. I tend more to sand a ball to get the ball to hook because I don't have a high rev rate. So I'm going to do that more often, but I don't do it near as much as the tour players do. And these guys have way higher rev rates. And I see those guys sanding their balls all the time. And I'm like, wow, I do it once in a while, but it's what it is. It's nice to be able to get that ball to hook a little bit, and sometimes I need that. But I probably should fool around with my surfaces more than I do. But I also know how to move my feet, slow my ball speed down. But the reality is it comes down to repeating shots and doing that. So, and unfortunately, I don't do it as well as I used to. Well, I hope you guys are having a good time. Have a great night, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks.